Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of WildMan Outdoors. Today I've just come out into the woods just to practice some slingshot or catapult shooting, and I thought I'd bring you along and just show you some tips and tricks, some techniques that might make you shoot a bit better. I'm no professional myself, but I know the basics and I know how to put them into practice, so hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate that today. And we're going to be using a few different things and in the setup of the targets, and one of those is a cloth or a blanket, and we're going to set this up behind the targets so that it catches any pellets, any ball bearings that we're going to be shooting at the targets, and so that you can collect them and use them for future use, because it can be quite expensive, and it's also best not to litter the woods that you're working in for the sake of animals or any other people that want to enjoy the woods. So we'll get set up. I'll set up some targets and I'll set up my blanket behind them, and I'll show you the setup. So that's me just set up the targets here, and behind the targets we have the cloth, as I mentioned, and what that's going to do is, as soon as the ball bearing goes through the paper, we don't want it disappearing into the woods and we'll never find it. It'll just litter the floor and whatever. So it'll hit the cloth. Hopefully it won't go through the cloth, and we'll see what happens. It'll hit the cloth and it'll just fall straight down to the floor where we can just pick them straight up. Hopefully, that's the theory anyway. So what I've done is use some paracord, just some nails just to hold the cloth onto the tree. They're not in that far, they're just in ever so slightly. And we started over here. So put a nail in there and we wrapped some paracord around it and tied it off using a stick to stop the loop poking through. And from here we went along through the paper onto that nail there, up to that one, and then finished off over there with the same kind of knot with a stick through it, and then that paracord just goes down to fall onto the floor. So that's our setup. It's fairly straightforward. It's going to make excellent targets for our practice today. So I'm going to get kitted up, going to get my ball bearings and my slingshot, my safety specs, most important thing. I'm going to head down there and I'll meet you down there. So the ammo I'm going to be using today is in this little pouch, and I've just made a little hole on the pouch and put a clip through it so that it can connect onto my ferro rod, and just connect that through there, and it just hangs down by my side. If my ferro rod isn't there, it just connects onto my belt. And what this acts as is a really fast way of collecting your ammo. Hand in, ammo out, reload, take your shot. It's always good to have your ammo really close to you rather than in your pocket and you're messing around trying to get it out your pocket, or in your jacket pocket and you're messing around trying to get it out. It's always good just to straight in the pouch when it's open and just take your shot. So the ammo I'm going to be using today is in that pouch, and it's 9.5mm steel ball bearings, and I got about 100 of these for, I forget how much it was, I think it was about £5 or so off of Amazon, and the 9.5 ones is a nice weight, it's nice and small, fits in the pouch really well, and you can grip it and pull it back and let go really efficiently as well. So that's what that is, and you'll see that hanging beside me, and it's just for quick access into the pouch, ammo out and fire. So that's us all set up. We've got our slingshot, got our ball bearings, which you've seen. I just attached that to the paracord on my ferro rod using a clip. So what we do first of all, when slingshotting, you need to use safety specs, of course. And the stance that we're going to be using is the target's over there, and we're going to be standing side on to the target with our feet shoulder width apart. And once you've got your stance correct, what you're best doing is finding out your dominant eye. And the best way to do that is if you take your finger and you point at something. You point at maybe a tree, for instance. My dominant eye is my right eye. So when I close my left eye, my finger is straight on the target. If I close my right eye, my fingers are way off the target. So the reason why we need to know our dominant eye is because when we're shooting with a catapult, we need to know what eye to aim with. So because I'm right-handed and right eye dominant, this is my left hand. I'm going to be tilting the catapult at a 90-degree angle, pulling back the pouch, and along here is going to be a reference mark, which I'm going to just put one on there just now. It could change depending on my aiming, so I'll just do that just now for you. There we go. So you've got your reference point now. So now that we've got our reference point, which is along the frame there, we're now going to be looking at an anchor point. And this is basically where you bring the pouch back to. So some people like to bring it back to their eye, some people like to bring it back to their chin. I prefer to bring it back to my cheek. So it's like you're looking down the stock of a rifle. So if you're shooting, you would rest your cheek on the rifle and you would look straight down the barrel. And that's how I like to use my catapult. And a good thing to note is, when you're loading up the pouch with ammo, which I'll do just now, it needs to be directly in the centre of the pouch. So there's your pouch there. My ball needs to be round about this area here, in here. Some people like to put a hole right in the centre so it sits in there perfectly. I've not done that yet. There we go. So got the ball perfectly in the pouch, right in the centre. Another thing to note is, when you're bringing back the pouch like this, so I'll put the ball bearing away for this example. When you're bringing the pouch back, some people, when they let go, their arm tends to jerk a little bit like that, and what that does is it throws the ball away off target. What I tend to do is keep my arm completely locked out, strong shoulder, strong arm, keep it locked out, bring it back, and when you release, there shouldn't be any movement, or very little movement. Another thing I forgot to mention when you're shooting a catapult is when you're pulling it back, your arm is completely level with your band. So if you were to do that, it might bring your ammo down, or if you were to do that, it might send your ammo up the way, or vice versa. It could work totally opposite way. So you need to keep your elbow completely straight off your band. If you're familiar to shooting a rifle, you would have two sights. So you'd have your front iron sight and your rear sight. And what you would try and do, just like this, so this is your rear sight, it's your front sight, you try and line them up like that. So if you're shooting like that, it's not going to hit the target. It needs to be like that. And if I look down the target like that, do a line up, it's going to be a perfect shot. Just like when you're using a catapult. This is your rear sight, that reference point is your front sight. So you bring it back, you line them up, and release. So it's really just like shooting a rifle using iron sights. I've had this Catapult for just a little while, and it's nothing fancy. It's just a Black Widow. It cost me, I think it was about £15. Not compared to your bigger brands and your more extravagant slingshots. It costs, you know, 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds. It's quite overwhelming when you go online and you see the different catapults, so I've just stuck to the basic Black Widow. I'm not really doing any competitive activities with it, so it's really just to come out in the woods, practice some shooting, maybe try and shoot some squirrels and some wood pigeons, depending on the permission I've got from the landowners. But that's what I just tend to use this for. It's nothing fancy. So intuitive aiming is a lot different, and to me, intuitive aiming tends to bring back the more natural way of hunting and aiming at things. It's where you're just using your eyes and your brain to a certain extent, just to turn around and bang, shoot down a target. So what we would do is we would just be turning straight around and aiming straight at the target and letting go and see what happens. It's pretty good. Pretty good. I tend to, definitely myself, in my opinion, when I'm aiming with a catapult, I tend to overthink the shot. I think a lot about what's going on around me, about the target, about how I'm holding it, how I'm letting go, my breathing. There's a lot going on, so if you just turn around and try and hit the target, it's more of a natural, more of a fluent way of doing things. The flow is incredible when you're doing intuitive aiming. But anyway, take a couple more shots at this, we'll see how we're going. Lovely. Shot one of the targets off of the paracord. So as you can see, my aiming isn't the best. Got two at the top, almost identical, and so the light's a bit bad here, but we've got one there, one over there, and then one over there. So that's those ones are pretty good. That out of one needs a little bit more practice. The bottom ones here, got top one there, one over there, and that's it for the bottom ones. So yeah, so that's me just doing a few shots from about maybe 15 metres or so, and ball bearings have fell on the ground here, which I'll collect in a second. So that's pretty good. Going to be doing a bit more practice today, and we'll see what happens, see if I get a little bit better. It's a lot, I think, coming back to this aiming technique from doing intuitive aiming for a while, it seems as though intuitive aiming is slightly better, feels better, feels more comfortable. However, it's quite hard to master. I'm still learning, that's for sure. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video today, and I hope you've learned something from it, and hope you've enjoyed seeing my kit and seeing what I use and my setup of my targets and my blanket. If you fancy getting out there with your catapult and your ball bearings, go for it. There's nothing stopping you. Just get out there and do it, and that's the only way you'll learn. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and take care. Stay safe.